Understanding Mother Stories podcast with Adeline Dubreuil. Your 10 minutes to talk about mothering and matrescence. Hello, Mama. Welcome back to Understanding Mother Stories podcast with Adeline. And I am here today to talk to you about something that is a big problem for many families and many mothers who carry this load on their shoulders, and it drives them nuts. And if you're one of them, you are definitely not alone. And I am talking about chaos. When you feel like life is chaotic, the house is chaotic, you have trouble keeping up with everything, it gets overwhelming, and you just feel like life as a whole is chaotic. And maybe you feel like life was not that chaotic before you had children, so you kind of put the motherhood and chaos as a whole. But I'm here to tell you that there is a way to try to lower the chaos. I'm not going to tell you it's going to disappear fully. I think that part of motherhood and having a family means there will be some mess, there will be some chaos. But if you feel like life as a whole is chaotic, then it doesn't have to feel this way. And we're going to talk about it today. And I have several tools and things for you to be able to manage that chaos. So bear with me, let's go. What is chaos? Well, chaos doesn't necessarily mean the same thing for everybody, for starters, but I'm going to define two different kinds of chaos. The first one that I'm going to talk about is what I'd call the physical chaos. So we're talking here about some kind of organization, physical organization. So in this can fall organizing your house, like the clutter or decluttering or organizing things, having systems and things in place that can help you feel like you have this under control. When this is not under control, it might look like you have things everywhere. Your counters are cluttered and you can't find anything and it's bugging you and it makes you feel overwhelmed when you look at it. Or that might be in your bedroom or your children's bedroom. Or maybe it's your living room that has been taken over and there's books everywhere and toys everywhere and you feel like you don't know where to put them. You don't really know how to tackle this clutter. This is what I call physical chaos, when it's exploding all over the place, which is kind of normal. I want to normalize that there will be some physical chaos that happens, especially after parties or after a busy, really great day of the children playing. So there are toys everywhere. There might be books everywhere. Maybe your books, maybe also your own things. It's not just necessarily because of the children. It's just like lives get so busy that the chaos explodes everywhere. And you can see it. So physical chaos is often something that is going to look like an overwhelming feeling of physical clutter. You're going to find stuff everywhere, or maybe it actually is not that bad, but in your mind, when you look at it, you feel overwhelmed because you would like to maybe have less things and go a little bit more minimalist, which is not always easy. Maybe it's because you don't have systems in place to keep things organized, whether it's your office, whether it's your children's bedroom or the toy room or your family room, depending on how your house is organized. So this can become quite stressful on a everyday life. And sometimes because it makes us feel stressed and even maybe anxious, if you tend to have some anxiety, then instead of acting on it, you keep pushing it for, I'll tackle this tomorrow, or I'll tackle this next week, or this week was not a good week, and I'm just going to do that next month, or I'm going to start decluttering or finding some kind of systems of organization in the new year. And we keep pushing it and procrastinating because it feels way too overwhelming for our mind. So, of course, I'm going to encourage you to tackle what seems feasible for you to the point where you feel like you have some kind of systems and organization and it doesn't look chaotic to you. And I really want to emphasize the fact that it has to be about how you feel and not how about you think others would feel when they see your house, because you're the one living in your house. Your family, your children, your partner, whoever's living in your house are the people who are important here. We're not talking about looking good for others, because then you're just waiting for other people's approval on how you live. And this is not how you're going to feel good about yourself and about your life. This is about making you feel good. Okay? So, first and foremost, I'm going to tackle one big thing which I know is a problem, and I've talked about it in the past around toys and organization. I had a couple of episodes last year, like I think episode 33 or something, when I talked about toys, when you receive them for holidays and birthdays, and what do I do with that. And I mentioned in those episodes toy rotation. Toy rotation is a really amazing tool and system to use to tackle the overflow and organization of the toys that you might have in your house all over the place. So I have a blog post on the subject. I will link this blog post about toy rotation, explaining toy rotation and how to put it in place. And I'll link it in the show notes, so then you can go read that. And then if you have any question, you come talk to me. But toy rotation, just to explain quickly, is when you have all of your toys and you realize you have too many toys and you don't know how to tackle it, and it's constantly out and nobody wants to clean up, including you. And I don't blame you. I have felt this way many times as well. But with toy rotation, it means that you find a system where all the toys you own do not have to be out at all times. We're avoiding having everything out at all times because it creates clutter. It's too much. Nobody's going to play with all of it at all times. So we find a system to rotate the toys that are out available to the child, and then the rest is organized. So go read that blog post and you'll know way more on how to do toy rotation. Now, another thing about physical chaos is, and I've mentioned it before, having systems. So having systems in place, what does it mean? Well, it doesn't mean the same thing for everybody, of course, because our brain all work differently. We're all very unique, and our children and our families are also very unique. So having systems in place to organize things in your house might look different for everybody. Maybe you're someone who really likes those big furniture with cubbies, and everything is organized in baskets that fit in the cubbies. So then it's kind of like out of the sight, but everything is still organized. And things are put together in systems. So maybe you're going to have all of your office supplies in one of those baskets and it's in one cubby. Or maybe you're going to have all the different kinds of toys in another cubby. Or maybe you're going to have, I don't know, maybe it's in your kitchen. You have a system to organize so then you know where things are. The point is to know where things are so they can be used. If you don't use them enough, you don't have use for them, that might be the time to start decluttering and getting rid of things. But whatever it is you use as a system is something that needs to be sustainable. It means that you find an organization that works for you, that makes sense for you and your family, so that can also help you. It's not all on mom to declutter and keep organization alive. But if you have a system, it means that you have an organization that you can go back to and it works. You know where things go. Everything has a place. So then it doesn't get dropped on a counter, it doesn't get dropped on the floor and then nobody knows where it goes. So having systems in place is not something that is necessarily easy, but and we are not aiming for perfection ever. We're really trying to find systems that work for you and make you feel better, and can also have systems where the rest of your family can know where things go, so then you're not the only one cleaning up. So I have a friend named Kelly. She's really amazing. She has 5 children. And I'm in awe on how she can manage a household with 5 children. They're all homeschooled, and she has an amazing Instagram, and it's called Simple Home Mom. I'll also put the links for her Instagram and her Substack in the show notes so you can follow her. She has a system where she will send you tricks and tips. She talks about it on Instagram a lot. She also has like a paid subscription on Substack where you can get way more of her systems, of her checklists to help you get organized if you do not have a system in place already. And that's a really useful person to have in your contacts. Now, another thing, I've met a mother like a little while ago who was telling me that she was at such a point in the house that they had moved into that it was too much for her to even declutter, even think about decluttering. It was way too much, way too overwhelming. She was also dealing with neurodiversity. And she just couldn't get to it. And she seemed very distressed about it. And my heart was really feeling and hurting for her. So if this is something that you go through when things get actually too overwhelming, that you're not even getting to it, or you don't know what systems to put in place by yourself, I have another friend, named Natalia. She's the CEO of a business called adhd. So she does design for houses, but she is the mom of 3 boys, and she has amazing systems in place. And her job is also to be able to go to your house. You hire her, she'll go to your house, she'll help you declutter physically, she'll be there. So of course, it's if you're local to the Halifax region in Nova Scotia. But I'm sure that she's not the only one. You can search in your area for someone who would be kind of like a declutterer, a professional organizer. They'll help you declutter, so it's not all on you. It feels less heavy. And they'll give you systems that you can sustain in the house to stay and remain organized for you and your family. So I will also put the links for you to find Natalia and adhd and her website. Now, if you also feel that you need some kind of inspiration to stay organized, I mean, when I started decluttering, I started finding systems for my kitchen, especially because I cook so much. It was so messy at first. And then I found systems that made it less cluttered, less overwhelming for me. And now I love it. And I could not go back to being messy. I have such a good system in my kitchen. And it was thanks to the Home Edit. So if you know the Home Edit, they have a book. But they also have a Netflix show that you can watch. There's a 1 or 2 seasons where they go to people's places and they help them declutter and they help them organize their stuff. And that was my inspiration years ago to start decluttering and to start organizing. My house doesn't look like any of the houses they do in that show, but it was an inspiration for me to tackle it. They also have a book, so I ended up buying the book. And then once in a while, I just go back into it and I'm just like, oh yeah, I could use that system. It reminds me on how I can totally get organized, and then it gets easier on me and the whole family to be organized. So you can also check the Home Edit. Now, that was physical chaos. Now, what's the second kind of chaos I want to talk about? Well, this one is not necessarily the easiest one. If you think that physical clutter is not easy, and it's not, I think the second kind of chaos I want to talk about is not easy because it's happening inside of us. And that's what I call mind chaos. So this one is not as physical. It's not just about drawers and baskets and organizing things and toys. It's the chaos we have in our mind because, and why, when it comes to mothers, because we have so many responsibilities, so many things to think about. The schedule for ourselves, maybe our job, our husbands, our children, their schools, their activity, the pickup, the drop-off, all of this is so heavy. And then you think about, maybe you have also some community that you participate in, and you want to stay in touch and have relationships with your friends and your family. And you just have so much on your plate, and it seems like it's all on you. And that's too heavy of a mental load. This mental load is the reason for mind chaos. And what mind chaos feels like, first, it often leads to very, very stressful moments or chronic stress, and for many also anxiety. The mind chaos is like when you feel like you can't fully get organized in your mind, when you start forgetting things. And I'm not talking here about people who have ADHD. Okay, I am not talking about this. This is not my area of expertise, but I have many friends who are moms and have ADHD. And that's very, very different because even if there are similarities, what happened when you have ADHD is that this kind of feeling overwhelmed in organizing anything, it just doesn't happen because you're a mom. It happened when you were a child, when you were in school. You have always struggled. Some of you might have been diagnosed when you were children if you were really lucky, so then you could get the support you need, or then you kind of like managed to keep pushing through your school years, but it was difficult, and then you became a mom, and then the load became even heavier, and then all of a sudden it's not just chaos, it's like explosion. And there's many moms that are now being diagnosed with ADHD because it's a neurodiversity. It's a chemical thing that happens in the brain that makes it so much harder. Now, what I'm talking about when I talk about mind chaos, this is not with ADHD. This is a somewhat neurotypical brain that when you became a mom, all of a sudden you started feeling that chaos in your mind that you had not necessarily felt before. Okay? So this mind chaos, it's also possible to tackle it, okay? It's a matter of mental load, of having too many responsibilities to organize schedule for everyone, and it gets a little bit too overwhelming because there's also other things on top of it. And we get super worried and super stressed about everything, about everyone in our household, on top of ourselves. And we tend, in this case, to also forget to take care of ourselves, which is not always an easy thing. So I want to talk about two different things. The first thing that I want to talk about, if you are someone who tends to get worried and stressed easily about everything, I am going to offer you the possibility to do what we call a worry batch. So years and years ago, I was taking a workshop with Dubreuil-Mahé, or Baranoha. Oops, I can't even remember now. I talk about her also in my blog post on toy rotation, so you can go see. And I will put that in the show notes as well. So when I took that workshop with Donnay, she talked about worry batching. So basically what worry batch is like when you catch yourself worrying about something, not something that you can necessarily do right away, but you're just like, oh my God, this is worrying me, or this is a little bit of like an anxious thought or something. Write it down right away and tell yourself, I will worry about this later. And you keep doing this, you know, you keep doing this, and maybe your list gets long, but that's okay. You wrote it down and you're going to take care of it later. But right now there is no point in worrying about it because you can't do anything about it. Then you choose one day and one time just for you. You just need, honestly, probably a half hour. If you want to make it longer, you can. But honestly, it doesn't necessarily take that long. You take your list, the list of all your worries that you wrote down, and then you worry about them. You actually worry about them, not in the sense that it makes you incapable of acting, but in the sense of like, whoa, I have a list in front of me of all the things that worried me this week. I'm going to tackle it. And then first and foremost, you're going to realize that a lot of the things you wrote down, you are now not worried about anymore. It was just like very temporary, and these things have already found solutions. They have solved themselves, or you have solved them, or someone solved them for you, which is amazing when you can have that kind of help. So you will realize that a good chunk of your list is already nothing to worry about. And the rest, then you find a solution for it. Okay, this is my worry. This is what stresses me out. What solution do I have? Can I delegate? Can I ask for advice? Can I hire someone to help me? Can I send that email, make that appointment that can actually put action on that worry? Because often the worries is something that we can't act on, or we have been afraid to act on. But once we put the action in place, the worry, the load of the worry gets lighter and we feel better. And then we put things in place and we do things, we get like proactive, or we get active on the things that are happening in our life. So that half hour or hour of worry batch every week helps you make the load lighter during the week. While you're worrying, you just write them down and you let them go. You write them down, you let them go. And then during your worry batch time, you act on what you can act on. What we can't act on, can we delegate? Or do we just have to let it go, which is not an easy thing to do. I agree. But it can help you kind of go through your week in a little bit of a lighter way. Now, I have another thing that I want to offer you. I'm very proud of it. I've been working on it for a while, and I've been working on it with my marketing coach and so many other people. And it's a free document called The 5 Ways to Manage Chaos. I'm going to release it with this podcast, okay? I'm going to give you the link in the show notes, and you're going to go put your email in, and you're going to receive your 5 ways to manage chaos. I give you ways that I have been using for years that have helped me manage the chaos in my head, first and foremost, okay? And it is about working on ourselves. Some of you are going to be afraid. You're going to be scared. You're not going to want change. You're not going to want to work on yourself. But change will not happen if it doesn't come from you. If you want some things to change in your mind, if you can want to shift the chaos to something calmer, more peaceful in your head, we need to work on it. You can act on it. You have to trust yourself, and I trust that you can do it. So go get the 5 ways to manage chaos, where I share my tricks. Some of these tricks I have learned from people way older and way wiser than me, and others I have made up for myself, and they've been working, and I have been feeling so much better. As I remember I want to remind you that I do have 2 children myself. I am homeschooling full-time and also working as a Montessori teacher and as a mom and matrescence coach. So I'm not doing it all. I have things that I delegate, and I'm happy to delegate. I have learned to ask for help. And then this 5 ways to manage chaos is a treasure to me. And I do think that if the 5 ways don't work for you, there's at least 1 or 2 that you can put in place, and it will make a difference in your everyday life. So I will put all this in the show notes, many things of you to check out, and I'm very, very happy to be able to support you in managing the chaos of your life. Okay? I wish you a wonderful day, and I will talk to you very soon. Thank you, Mama, for listening to this episode of Understanding Mother Stories podcast. You can find us on Instagram at Ohmama World or on our website www.ohmama.ca.